Hello everyone, today I want to take a look at the Final Fantasy Universes Beyond set that is coming, or at this point has already come, to Standard. I know I'm kind of late to the party on this one, but two factors. One, I've been really busy with work lately, and two, I haven't really been too enthusiastic about Universes Beyond coming to Standard, so as a result, my enjoyment of this coming to Standard is a little lukewarm, to say the least. But I do want to, at the very least, take a look at the cards coming to the game, coming to Standard, and give an analysis of what I think will actually be utilized. The cards that you will see on the ladder coming up soon. So let's take a moment today to take a look at a few of the cards that I think are going to be pretty good and give my general thoughts on them. So first up, we're going to take a look at Sephiroth, the Fabled Soldier. This is a pretty interesting card. For 3 mana, it's 2 and a black, you get a 3/3 human avatar soldier. And it reads, whenever a Sephiroth enters or attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Whenever another creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. If this is the 4th time this ability has resolved this turn, transform Sephiroth. Okay, what does he transform into? He transformed into Sephiroth the One-Winged Angel. It is a legendary creature, Angel Nightmare Avatar. It is a 5/5. It has flying, and it has the ability Supernova. As this creature transforms into Sephiroth One-Winged Angel, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may sacrifice any number of other creatures. If you do, draw that many cards. Now, this is an incredibly powerful finisher for Aristocrats-style decks. An Aristocrats deck is a deck that wants to sacrifice a bunch of creatures, typically tokens, for benefit. And the benefit in this case is draining your opponent out. So if you're swinging for like a finishing blow with Sephiroth, and your opponent is at say 10 or fewer health, you can sacrifice a pile of tokens to just end the game right there. So I think Sephiroth will definitely see at least some play in Standard going forward, especially if we keep getting more better sacrifice outlets and more token generators for white and black. Like, this can be played out of just black, but white and black is definitely where Aristocrats wants to be played. So definitely keep an eye out for Sephiroth the Fabled Soldier. Another card that I think is going to be seen pretty often is actually going to be Cloud, the Midgar Mercenary. He's for only 2 white mana, you get a 2/1, and it reads, when Cloud enters, search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So already right there, that's a very good effect. It is kind of reminiscent of the old Stoneforge Mystic, a card from a long time ago that would allow you to search your library for a equipment card and put it into your hand. It usually was used with cards like Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Light and Shadow, that kind of stuff. If you're a Commander player, you're probably very familiar with the Stoneforge Mystic. As long as Cloud is equipped, if an ability of Cloud or an equipment attached to it triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. Really, really solid effect. So 2 mana, you get a 2/1 Human Soldier Mercenary. All 3 of those type lines are very relevant, by the way. To go get yourself your favorite equipment and get to work. It's a pretty solid card. Really good if you're playing a equipment-based strategy, or if you're even just playing a deck that has one very key equipment, like a Sword of Fire and Ice. So next up, we have a card that I think is going to be creating a whole new archetype all on its own, and it is Vivi Ornithie. It's 1, a blue, and a red. You get a 0/3 Legendary Wizard, and it has 2 main abilities. The first is 0 to activate, add X mana in any combination of blue and or red, where X is Vivi Ornithie's power. Activate only during your turn and only once each turn. And the other is whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. So cast a spell like, say, Serum Visions or Unsummon or any draw or burn spell. Then you get to put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi, and then it deals the damage. Now, Vivi's power is 1, so you can activate its ability to add 1 mana to your mana pool, and use that to cast more spells, and putting more +1 counters on Vivi. This whole wizard's dealing damage for casting spells is very, very interesting. I think it's going to be a really fun archetype that is going to see a lot of play in Standard going forward. Will it overtake the meta? Who knows? I don't know how much of a meta share a deck like this can take over, especially when you pair it up against the existing blue-red archetype of Prowess. I think Prowess is just going to be a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, but I think Vivi can definitely slot into a deck like that with very little effort. When you pair him with cards like Corey Steel Cutter, Lightning Blast, cards like Impulse, Sleight of Hand, things like that, like, it's a card that wants to be in a deck like that already. And the fact that it gets bigger whenever you cast those spells, and it allows you to generate more mana and cast even more spells as it gets bigger, really means that I think Vivi is going to be a key player in decks like that. So definitely keep your eye out on Vivi or Nitier. Here's an interesting card that I think is going to not necessarily like make a new deck happen, but is definitely something that's going to fit very well into Boros builds, and that's Lightning Army of One. For 3 mana, you get a 3/2 human soldier. It has First Strike, Trample, and Lifelink, all very relevant keywords, especially in combat. And its ability is Stagger. Whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to that player, or a permanent that player controls, it deals double that damage instead. Now here's the part that makes this really good, is the fact that this has First Strike. So say, for example, you're attacking with like 3 or 4 creatures, and you have Lightning. Lightning is the only creature you have that has First Strike. So Lightning will strike first, and then the Stagger ability will go on the stack, effectively doubling all the damage of all of your other creatures that are going to strike that turn. Not to mention, it's going to increase the damage of any spells that you cast until your next turn. Bear that in mind too. It reads until your next turn, not until end of turn. So if you hold up mana to like Lightning Strike or cast Lightning Helix on your opponent's turn, it's going to deal double that damage anyways. So Lightning, I think, is going to be really strong in those go wide, really aggressive Boros builds. So definitely keep your eye open for that one. Okay, so I don't know if this next one is going to be taking over the meta in any way, but it's definitely going to create a new deck that people are going to be excited to play. And it has a very Timmy play style about it. It's a very fun style of deck. And that's the Chocobos, the birds. Traveling Chocobo is a 2 and a green mana for a 3/2 bird, and it reads, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. If a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So that right there is really, really cool. The fact that all of your landfall abilities come in and they trigger additional times. Or if you play a bird, it will cause that effect to trigger an additional time. Or if you play a land, it'll cause it to trigger an additional time. The thing that I like about this is that last paragraph right there says, if a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent to control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So that's not just for the birds, that's for any other landfall. Like if you have Bristly Bill on the table, or if you have the Hydra that doubles its power every time you do a landfall, it will double those as well. It's not just for the birds. It is a absolute enabler for all of your other landfall strategies. Also, freaking Nissa, the Animus, like her adding additional mana and searching up additional cards out of your library. Like just having the ability to play additional lands and get double triggers Or say, for example, you play a fetch land, crack it, and go get another land. That's more additional triggers. There are also some other effects that will allow you to bounce your own lands and then replay them again. Like Traveling Chocobo is rightfully a very, very powerful card. And I think it's going to be a player in not just the bird decks, but in also other landfall strategies as well. So definitely keep your eye open for the Traveling Chocobo. So here's one that has a very special place in my heart, and this is Cecil, the Dark Knight. Cecil was a character from Final Fantasy IV. He was like your main protagonist character. He was a very interesting character, and his entire story arc was him facing his own demons to kind of like purify his soul. So in the game of Magic, it is very well showcased how Cecil becomes the Paladin. So let's take a look at the card real quick. Cecil, Dark Knight's 1 black mana for a 2/3 with Death Touch, and it has Darkness. Whenever Cecil deals damage, you lose that much life. Then, if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, untap Cecil and transform it. And what does he transform into? He transformed into Cecil, the Redeemed Paladin. It is a 4/4 with lifelink and a human knight, with the ability Protect. Whenever Cecil attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. This is an absolutely fantastic character with a really good flavor. In the game, Cecil went on a pilgrimage of sorts to face his own inner demons and purify his soul, and that is perfectly showcased here. He starts as a creature that hurts you by its own actions, and then it becomes a character that heals you and protects everyone around him. It is a fantastic transition of a character and really well flavor pointed. Now, as far as playing him in the game of Magic, this is a damn powerful card. For only 1 black mana, you get a 2/3 with Death Touch on the first turn. That's really, really strong. Especially if you get pounded down to like 10 or less life and have him transform and become an incredibly powerful creature for you. It's like, it's damn strong. I mean, hell, even if he never transforms, a 2/3 with Death Touch in turn 1 is stupidly powerful. Really, really good card. Okay, so here is a card that I think is going to be very powerful in those ramp to Ugin strategies that we've been seeing on ladder already, and that's Summon Bahamut. It is a 9 colorless mana enchantment creature saga dragon. It's a 9/9 with flying, and it has 4 parts. Part 1 and 2 of the saga is destroy up to 1 non-land permanent. Part 3 is draw 2 cards, and Part 4 is Mega Flare. This creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. So he does not count himself, but he will count other permanents, like other enchantments you have, other artifacts, and also, bear in mind, you're probably playing this in an Ugin deck. So pop this in with your Ugin and just start blowing people away. It's a really, really powerful card. And the fact that it's colorless means that if you already have Ugin on the table and you play Bahamut, so Bahamut will come in, destroy something, and Ugin's static ability will exile something else. This is a really, really strong card, and I'm really excited to actually play with this one specifically, because I have a very nasty feeling that this is going to play very well in Ugin decks. So keep your eyes open for that one. Okay, so here's one that I think is going to not create a new archetype, but really help one out. And this is Hope Estheim. Hope Estheim is for 1 white and 1 blue. It's a 2/2 lifelink human wizard. And it says at the beginning of your end step, each opponent mills X cards, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. So this is a card that I would probably put into a deck that not necessarily mills on its own, but just gains a ton of life and happens to have maybe a couple other mill cards in it. And if you gain a whole bunch of life on your turn and keep hope on the table, at end of turn you can have your opponent milling a ton of cards. Now also, this would probably be a very good card to pair into an existing mill strategy where, let's say for example, you're playing a control deck that happens to gain life as a defensive measure just to make sure you don't die, and you happen to play hope. while also playing other cards that are milling your opponent out. Like say, like you're playing Jace, or you're playing the artifact that you can exert to mill your opponent's like half of their library. Like this is a pretty solid support piece in decks like that. But in decks that where your primary focus is gaining a ton of life on your turn, this is also a really strong support piece in that style of deck. Let's say, for example, you play like the Rabbits deck that just gains like 20 life a turn. You pop down a Hope after you've gained all that life, and it's like, boom, nuke your deck, get out, you're done. It's like, it's a pretty cool support piece in both of those strategies. I really like it. Okay, so here is a very interesting card. And if you played Final Fantasy VI, then you probably know what I'm looking at here. And this is Gogo, the Master of Mimicry. Gogo, in the games, is a character whose entire gimmick is just copying what other people do. Rather than having like a command list of abilities that are unique to Gogo, whenever you go to like the status section, you can set up Gogo's command list to basically be that of any other character in your party. So you can set him up with special magic abilities. You can set him up with like Cyan's sword techniques. Give him Sabin's blitz commands. You can give him Edgar's tool list. Like his entire bit is just, I do what you do. Not necessarily better, but I also do what you do. It's pretty cool. So I really like Gogo. He's a very interesting character. But in Magic, he has a very interesting ability, and it's XX tap. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control X times. You may choose new targets for the copies. This ability can't be copied, and X can't be 0. Now, this is a card that you can definitely play as the creature, but I definitely think you're going to want to play this from the graveyard. And what I mean by that is you play this with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. Soul Cauldron is great with this because Soul Cauldron will allow you to exile Gogo from the graveyard and allow your other creatures in play to utilize Gogo's ability. It's really, really fun. So if you're looking to copy a whole bunch of really busted effects, Gogo is a go-to. Okay, now here is a card that I think I will actually be playing myself. This is a pretty cool card, and it is Nibelheim of Flame. 2 colorless and 2 red mana is a sorcery that says, choose target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, discard your hand and draw 4 cards. This is an amazing card, not just for the fact that it is a great way to have one of your creatures just blow up the board, especially if you happen to choose a creature that has lifelink or death touch, because Nibelheim of Flame doesn't deal the damage. The creature deals the damage. So any relevant combat keywords like lifelink, death touch, or anything else will be considered when you play Nibelheim of Flame. And the other really fun thing about this is it has flashback for 5 colorless and 2 red mana. I really like that because it's a flavor win. The whole Nibelheim of Flame segment, when you're playing through Final Fantasy VII, you're seeing it as a flashback, a memory from Cloud's memories. So I thought that was a really cool flavor touch that they added to this card, is giving it a, what's the term? Well, giving it the flavor of being a flashback, a memory. So I think it's pretty cool. Also, the fact that you get to draw additional cards for it being a flashback is really cool. Okay, so this next character is another character from one of my favorite Final Fantasies that really has a special place in my heart, and that is Tella, the Great Sage. Tella is a character that you meet fairly early on in the story of Final Fantasy IV, and he's a very interesting magic user. He's a very powerful magic user, and he has access to almost every spell in the game, and he even has access to a very powerful spell called Meteor. And the thing that's really funny about that is he knows how to cast it, but he doesn't have enough mana to actually cast it. So I thought that was very, very interesting when like making the character. Simply because later on in the story, there is a story beat where Tella sacrifices himself to save the rest of the team. And he does that by like digging really deep within himself to find the mana that he needs to cast Meteor. But as a result, he ends up losing himself because he expended himself to such a great degree. Now, when you read Tella, the Great Sage, you can kind of see that in what he does. So let's read him real quick. 3 colorless, a blue and a red is a 3/3 legendary human wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create a 1/1 colorless hero creature token. If 4 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, draw 2 cards. If 8 or more mana was spent to cast that spell, sacrifice Tella, and it deals that much damage to each opponent. Really beautiful flavor win on that one. So you cast like a really big, powerful spell. You get the spell, but Tella also blows himself up in the process to cast it and deal even more damage. It is a really, really good card for a really good character. I loved Tella in the story of Final Fantasy IV. I mean, if you ever get the chance to go back and play Final Fantasy IV, absolutely do it. It is a shorter Final Fantasy game, but damn, it's good. It is such a good story. I love everything about it. Okay, so this next card is probably one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite character from Final Fantasy VI, and is Locke Cole. And card-wise, it's actually really good for an uncommon. Locke Cole is 1, a blue and a black for a 2/3 human rogue that reads Death Touch, Lifelink, and whenever Locke Cole deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. Really solid, really efficient creature. It's a creature that your opponent likely doesn't want to block. It keeps you alive by giving you a bit of lifelink, and it acts as an infiltrator, giving you extra cards for when it hits the opponent. It's a really, really solid card at uncommon, and it doesn't have to do too much to be effective. I mean, it's just a really solid card, and I can definitely see people playing Locke in the coming days. Absolutely. Really good card.